Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Samkand Radha Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Guru Bhagavad Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai, all glories to the all glories to the Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Sahadeva, you're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
We welcome the landlord to his own house. Dear devotees, you're welcome to this second day of the month of August, SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class. We're continuing our hearing of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM from this first canto, chapter 16 of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Our speaker for today is none other person than our professor of Vedic Studies, His Grace Srimad Sahadeva Prabhu. So Srimad Sahadeva Prabhu, you're welcome to the class. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you're ready, we'll put the class on the screen and we can start.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirai Nashta Paisha Padreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Vitamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 16, text number 12. Bhadrashvam Ketuma Alamcha Bharatam Chotaran Kurun Kimpurasha Dini Varashani Vijitya Jagrihe Palim Bhadrashvam Ketuma Alamcha Bharatam Chotaran Kurun Kimpurusha Dini Varashani Vijitya Jagrihe Balim Bhadrasham Ketu Malamcha Bharatam Chotaran Kurun Kimpurusha Dini Varashani Vijitya Jagrihe Balim. Synonyms: Bhadrashwam, Bhadrashwa, Ketumalam, Ketumala, Cha, also, Bharatam, Bharat or Bharata, Cha, and Uttaran, the northern countries, Kurun, the kingdom of the Kuru dynasty, Kimpurusha Adini, a country beyond the northern side of the Himalayas, Varshani, parts of the earth planet, Vijitya, conquering, Jagrihe, exacted, Balim, strength. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Param Guru Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Maharaj Parikshit then conquered all parts of the earthly planet. Bhadrashwa, Ketumala, Bharata, the northern Kuru, Kimpurusha, etc., and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. Purport: Bhadrashwa. So in this text and purport, Srila Prabhupada is giving brief cosmological description of the few names of, excuse me, of varshas, countries, mountains mentioned in this verse. So, Bhadrashwa, it is a tract of land near Meru Parvata, and it extends from Gandhamadan Parvata to the saltwater ocean. There is a description of this Varsha in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parava 7:14-18. The description was narrated by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. Maharaj Yudhishthira also conquered this Varsha, and thus the province was included within the jurisdiction of his empire. Maharaj Parikshit was formally declared to be the emperor of all lands ruled by his grandfather, but still, he had to establish his supremacy while he was out of his capital to exact tribute from such states. Ketu Mala. This earth planet is divided into 7 dvipas by 7 oceans. On the central dvipa, called Jambudvip, is divided into 9 varshas, or parts, by 8 huge mountains. Bharatvarsha is one of the above mentioned 9 varshas, and Ketumala is also described as one of the above varshas. It is said that in Ketumala Varsh, women are the most beautiful. This Varsha was also conquered by Arjuna. This Varsha was conquered by Arjuna also. A description of this part of the world is available in the Mahabharata, Shava 28, text 6. It is said that this part of the world is situated on the western side of the Meru Parvata, and the inhabitants of this province used to live up to 10,000 years. This can also be found in Bhishma Parava, book 6, text 31. Human beings living in this part of the globe are of golden color, and the women resemble the angels of heaven. The inhabitants are free from all kinds of diseases and grief. Bharat Varsha. This part of the world is also one of the 9 varshas of the Jambudvip. A description of Bharat Varsha is given in the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, chapters 9 and 10. In the center of Jambudvip is Ilavrata Varsha, and south of Ilavrata Varsha is Hari Varsha. The description of these varshas is given in the Mahabharata, Sabha Parva 28:7-8, as follows. Nagarams-cha vanams-chaiva nadischa vimalodakaha purushan deva kalpamscha narischa priyadarshanaha adrishta purvan shubhagan sada darsha dananjayaha sadanani cha shubrani naris chapshara shamni baha. It is mentioned here that the women in both these varshas are beautiful, and some of them are equal to the apsaras, or heavenly women. Uttarakuru. According to the Vedic geography, the northernmost portion of Jambudvip is called Uttarakuru Varsha. It is surrounded by the saltwater ocean from 3 sides and divided by Shringavan mountain from the Hiranmaya Varsha. Kimpurusha Varsha. It is stated to be situated north of the Great Himalaya Mountain, which is 80,000 miles in length and height, and which covers 16,000 miles in width. These parts of the world were also conquered by Arjuna. That can also be found in Mahabharata, Sarva 28:1 and 2. The Kimpurushas are descendants of a daughter of Daksha. When Maharaj Yudhishthira performed a horse sacrifice yagya, the inhabitants of these countries were also present to take part in the festival, and they paid tributes to the emperor. This part of the world is called Kimpurusha Varsha, or sometimes the Himalayan provinces, Imavati. It is said that Shikadev Goswami was born in these Himalayan provinces, and that he came to Bharat Varsha after crossing the Himalayan countries. In other words, Maharaj Parikshit conquered all the world. He conquered all the continents, adjoining all the seas, and oceans in all directions, namely the eastern, western, northern, and southern parts of the world. Hare Krishna. Om Ajana Timrandasya Jnana Jnana Shalakaya. Chakshur on militam yena tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitab Yena Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Katatmayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Vancha Kalpa Taribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha. Patita Nampavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gura Tuiza Namaha. Nama Brahmanya Devyago Brahmana Hitaya Chakataya Krishna Govinda Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamin Iti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashtatatmane. Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Ti Tatit Namini. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishisha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to today's Srimad Bhagavatam discuss. This is more or less a Vedic geography. No. So the text again says Maharaj Parikshit then conquered, Maharaj Parikshit then conquered all parts of the earthly planet, Bhadrashva, Ketumala, Bharata, the northern Kuru, Kimpurusha, and so many other places, and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. So Srila Prabhupada explained, Srila Prabhupada once gave a class on this same verse. And in the class, Srila Prabhupada was saying that Maharaj Parikshit was going around all these different territories of the Earth planet and was exacting taxes from all the different population belonging to these different countries. It's English is kind of handicapped when it comes to spiritual topics, because the way we understand Earth, the Earth planet, as we understand it as earthly beings on this planet, is completely different from what the scriptures mean or refer to when the scriptures say the Earth planet. The Earth planet does not simply mean the 5 continents we have. No. Like we have Africa, North America, South America, That is 3. We have Europe, we have Asia. So this is what constitutes the 8th planet. But when the Vedic scriptures talk of the 8th planet, they sometimes refer to it as the greater 8th planet. In other words, there are many different worlds, but they are all considered part of the 8th planet. Because the descriptions given here in this verse can be well understood when we begin to study the Canto 5 of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, where Srila Prabhupada elaborately, it's amazing how Srila Prabhupada, even though not materially an astrophysicist or an astronomer, he is not somebody who had any formal education on geography or astrophysics. But when we study, not just reading, when we study the Canto 5 of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, we all be amazed how in-depth and how detailed description we can find about the cosmology of the universe. And as such, Srila Prabhupada advised all of us to help design this Vedic cosmology, which will be the first time ever in this world whereby people can go and really attempt to understand the Vedic wisdom of how creation came about and how the worlds exist. So many things the Vedic scripture says have been confirmed by modern day scientists, because in the Vedic teachings, it is said that the 8th planet, just like any other planet or any other universe, is kind of spherical. At the same time, it's flat. And in modern day science, scientists also tell us that most of us think that the world is sphere because from the outer shell, it appears spherical. But when you are in it, when you are on the planet itself, it's flat. And the reason why it is flat is because, and it's very interesting how scientists have been able to come up with all these longitudes and the latitudes to draw lines, which also help us determine how the sun is moving and what time the sun rises at one particular part of the world. And therefore, as the sun rises, it is set in some part of this world. So there is this equator, which fortunately or unfortunately, Ghana is very, very close to the equator line. You know, all the Western African countries are very close to the equator line. And those countries very close to the equator line, they appear to be flat, but at that particular point, they are not flat because the ends, like from the North Pole to the South Pole, is kind of rough. The edges are rough. And that is why it's not completely spherical. It appears spherical, but it's not completely spherical because the edges are rough. And then when you come to the middle, at the equator, it bulges out. And so it's like, even though you are on a flat land, you know, like you're driving and then there is a speed ramp. So the street is flat, but when you get to the speed ramp, you have to climb a little bit of a ramp before you descend to get to the flat level land again. And so the equator region of this world is like that. It appears bulging. And so the same thing is also described in the Veda scriptures, in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and in the Mahabharata. Both in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana all talk about the spherical and flatness nature of this Earth planet. And both of these amazing scriptures, which on top of those, SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, all describe that when in the Vedic scriptures, when they refer to Earth, it's not just this Earth, which from, it is said that if one wanted to drive around this Earth at 100 kilometers per hour, nonstop, you will be driving for, I think about 48 hours. 48 hours. Now, so this tells how small this part of the world is. It's very small because according to the Mahabharata, let me see here. Hold on, please. There's something here I saw. No. All right. So according to the Mahabharata, there are, we have what we call the Bhumandal Earth disk. And the Bhumandal Earth disk is 4 billion, 4 with the B, not 4 with M, 4 billion miles wide. 4 billion miles wide. That is what the Vedic scriptures describe the Bhumandala, which when the Vedic scriptures talk of Bhumandala, it comprises of so many other parts of the world, of different worlds, which are all included as part of the earth. For example, this discussion was inquired by Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya, because Sanjaya was blessed to be able to see whatever he wants to see from wherever. So he can sit at one place and see whatever is going on anywhere, everywhere. So Sanjaya was describing all these different places to Dhritarashtra Maharaj. And so he is saying from this point that maybe one important thing we should know also, because in the Vedic calculation, they use the measurement called yojana. Yojana in today's calculation is like 8 miles. So if there is 100 yojanas, you multiply that by 8, and that will be 800 miles. That is just to give us an idea what it is. So I want to read briefly here what Dhritarashtra was saying here. Sanjaya. So Sanjay is saying that there are so many different divisions which are all parts of this Earth planet. And they are all basically divided by 9 islands caused by 8 different mountains. And the central part of this Bhumandala is what is referred to as Jambudvip. And Jambudvip is, I do not know exactly how to describe, but let's assume in our own minds, like you're looking at a circle, and then around the circle is another circle, and around that circle is another circle, and around that circle is another circle. So according to the description and the Vedic cosmology, the central part of this Bhumandala is the Jambudvip. And around the Jambudvip is another Varsha. Varsha could mean an island, could mean a continent, or could mean a planet. But in this case, this Varsha here refers to another island. Another name for island is Dvip. So in this Jambudvip, which is an island of its own, when you go outside that, there is another world. And that world is twice as bigger as Jambudvip. And the world that comes after that around it is also twice bigger than that. So in this way, there are 9 different islands which are caused by 8 different mountains. And it makes a lot of sense, because if you have 8 mountains, or if you have like 8 pillars, then if you count in between all the way, you're going to have 9. So 9 islands caused by these 8 mountains. And when we talk of these 9 islands and 8 mountains, it goes beyond what our modern day material scientists measure our Earth planet to be. It's way much more than that. Because herein, there is a description of some parts of these places where Maharaj Parikshit was traveling to conquer, like this Bhadrashva. This Bhadrashva, where Maharaj Parikshit traveled to, is beyond this, our 5 continents comprising our Earth planet. And so we also read from ancient Greek stories that there used to be horses with wings. There were horses that can fly. And so it is in our Vedic philosophy also. We have such horses. So the horses Maharaj Yudhishthira was traveling on, the horses, of course, like Saleka Prabhu was talking about yesterday, Maharaj Parikshit was using white horses. And his grandson, Maharaj Parikshit, was using black horses. Even though they are not clearly stated that they had wings, but these horses were so powerful that they are able to travel across one ocean to the other. For us as ordinary beings, for us to cross an ocean where we need a boat, we need a canoe, we need a ship, we need something to help us cross. But these horses are so divine that they have the power to cross the ocean. In fact, Srila Prabhupada has also mentioned somewhere that in our scriptures, there are certain birds. You know, birds, usually they fly and then they land on a tree, and then from that tree, they move to another tree. But there are some birds, their sort of tree is planets. So these birds fly from one planet to another, and then they land on as if they just landed on a tree. Just like Srila Prabhupada also talks about Timengala fish, which is so huge. People who haven't seen this type of fish or read about it think it's one of the ancient myths. So they actually call it a myth, an ancient Indian myth, that this Temengal is so huge that it swallows a blue whale in one gulp. To us as earthly beings, in the ocean, the biggest and the greatest creature is the blue whale. You know, on the land, the biggest animal is the elephant. But in the ocean, the blue whale gets swallowed by this Temengal fish. And so these horses are able to travel from one planet to another. Meanwhile, according to the Vedic cosmology, there are all these adjunct planets which are also referred to as Earth. And so Srila Prabhupada was describing one of the worlds where it is said that Ketumala, it is said that the women there are so beautiful that oftentimes their beauty is compared to the Apsaras or to the heavenly denizens, the women in heaven. And when we read the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, we hear about the beautiful nature of the denizens of the heavens. And so these women, even though they are not in Indraloka, which is where they are, the Ketumala is a lower planetary system, but it's part of the Earth planet. And even though it is part of the Earth planet, the women there are as cute as denizens of heaven. And in fact, we read from the scriptures how in the spiritual world, there is a wish-fulfilling tree, you know, Chintamani. Chintamani is touchstone. What is the wish-fulfilling tree? Somebody remind me.
Kalpavriksha tree. Kalpavriksha.
Kalpavriksha, thank you. There is this Kalpavriksha tree that whatever you desire, the tree will provide you with. But in one part of this adjuncts of this Earth planet, they also have trees, fruit-bearing trees, that anytime you go as a denizen there, when you go to that tree, whichever fruit that you think of, that you want to pluck, the tree will provide you with such fruit. So you see, Krishna is not mean. Krishna is not miserly. He's not trying to say, I'm the only person going to enjoy this. Krishna has given us anything and everything. The only thing we lack is Krishna consciousness. And it is said that out of all these different places where some of the denizens are so beautiful, some they do not even fall sick. And in fact, even though it is said that there is death from the hellish planet all the way to Brahmaloka, but it is also said by Sanjaya that the people in some of this, let me see, especially particularly which part of this he was talking about. Okay, the Ketumala, Sanjaya is saying that the women resemble the angels of heaven. And he was also saying the inhabitants are free from all kinds of diseases and grief. So that means that there is no diseases and there is no death, right? A description of this product is available in the Mahabharata here. What is Ketumala? No, scroll down a little bit. Yeah. It is said that this part of the world is situated on the western side of the Meru Parvata, and inhabitants of this province used to live up to 10,000 years. Human beings living in this part of the globe are of golden color, and the women resemble the angels of heaven. The inhabitants are free from all kinds of diseases and grief. So even though Krishna has said whatever Krishna says is absolute truth. So when Krishna says in the Gita that from the lowest planet to the highest planet, there is always repeated birth and death, he is speaking the truth, but is different from our way of understanding. Because when one dies from this particular globe and has to be transported to the heavenly planet, it's not going to go there and to be conceived in somebody's womb for 9 months or whatever before he gets born. You go there as a matured soul or as a matured being. Unlike when one has to come into this world, we have to go through a mother's womb. So that is the difference. So in that sense, even though the person has appeared, which is a birth, but it's different from our understanding of birth. Because our understanding of birth is that somebody will have to conceive you, you stay in the womb for between 7-10 months or whatever, and then you appear, you start growing from different stages to different stages. But in some parts of the cosmos, that is not how souls enter into those planets. So it is amazing how Maharaj Parikshit traveled to all these places, and wherever he went to, he was very much welcomed and he was glorified. And his grandfather was glorified because Maharaj Yudhishthira had also conquered lots of these places. Arjuna had conquered lots of these places. So their name, their fame were already established in those places. When Maharaj Parikshit went to these places, they recognized him and they started singing his glories and singing the glories of his ancestors, or like a grandfather, or say grandfathers. So the world is not just what we see. And so it is said that in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it was not just a war fought by people on this earth, comprising of these 5 continents alone. Other beings from other parts of the world also came, because even though they live in different parts of the world, but they are like subordinates to the overall king, which at that time was in India. So when we talk of Bharatvarsha, Bharatvarsha is just a very small portion of the entire Earth planet. And that Bharatvarsha comprised somewhere around just India region. So sometimes you hear others say that some time ago, the entire Earth planet was referred to as Bharatvarsha. That is not exactly the case, but the Bharatvarsha is just a very small portion of the entire Bhu Mandala. Bhu means earth. So the entire earth planet, Bharatvarsha, forms a very, very small portion of it. There is this thing I wanted to show. Now I can't find it. Let me see. Okay, I'll find it here. So let me see if I can share this and if devotees can see it. All right, I think I can do that. Can you see the screen? Okay, so we have here Bhu Mandala Earth disk is 4 billion miles wide. This is a message, information we're getting from the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. And so we see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All these circles are different planets. And the Jambudvip, which is number 1 island, Jambudvip, that is like the crux. And then from there, you go outer, and then you make a wider circle. So the Jambudvip is just 800,000 miles wide. 800,000 miles wide. I mean, in the US, from New York to LA, which is from the east to the west, it's roughly like 3,000 miles, right? So that is like less than 200 or so times the size of the Jambudvip. And then outside the Jambudvip, we have the Lavana Ocean. Lavana Ocean is 800,000 miles. And then we have Mount Meru or Mount Sumeru, which is 672,000 miles above Earth and 128,000 below. And this is Bharatvarsha. Bharatvarsha has Bharatvarsha is one of the 9 varshas of Jambudvip. Like I said, Jambudvip has 9 varshas, which is created by the manifestation of these 8 mountains. And Bharatvarsha is just one of the 9 varshas of Jambudvip. So the continents of our known Earth are in this area. So this is where the Earth planet as we know today is located, the Jambudvip. But it is also said that this Jambudvip, there is one part where Jambu, I've forgotten the English name, but Jambu is a plant. It's like a berry. So it's an island of berry. We have an island of milk, we have an island of sugarcane, candy juice, we have an ocean of ghee. All these different oceans are all considered part of the greater Earth planet. And Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Yudhishthira, Arjuna, they were able to travel to all these different places and conquer them and made them subordinates. And so Srila Prabhupada was explaining in this particular class he gave on this 116.12 that it did not matter how much the denizens pay to the emperor, but the mere fact that you recognize that you have to make some payment to your king, to your emperor, tells that you admit your subordination to such a person, to such a kingdom. And so it is said that in the ancient days, when one becomes an emperor, he is not ruling by himself, but he is ruling with the assistance of other higher beings. Because once you become a ruler, you connect yourself with these higher beings who are also ruling in other parts of the Earth planet. But because this Jambudvip is the central part of it, we are like a pride for all of these other adjunct planets to show their respect. To show their respect. And that explains why when Krishna says that whenever there is decline in religion and irreligion becomes predominant, he descends. And when he descends into different planets, when we talk of the Earth planet, mostly he comes to this Earth planet because this is like the central. And so when we perform some Krishna conscious activity, these beings also come here with us. And so we can see here, we have this mountain, Lokaloka. This mountain called Lokaloka is 1 billion miles high. Where do you find such a mountain on this Earth planet? You can't find it here. On this Earth planet, we all admit that the highest the highest mountain is the Himalayan. And the Himalayan is nowhere close to this 1 billion mile high mountain called Lokaloka. In fact, it is said that this Lokaloka is so high that sometimes it blocks the passage of the sun globe. And so that is why some parts of the Earth planet are devoid of the sun rays because of this Lokaloka. But we do not see it on this particular Earth planet because, as it was explained, this Bharat Varsha is just one of the 9 islands belonging to Jambudvip. And Jambudvip is just one tiny bit with just 800,000 miles. So it's very amazing how we did not pay any money to have this detailed, deep information and knowledge given to us free of charge by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. But when you read what the Vedic scriptures say about the different parts of our universe and our particular Earth as we know it, there are so much similarities. And it's very amazing because these things had been said so many thousands of years ago, but now they are confirmed by modern scientists. But like I said, Srila Prabhupada was saying, Maharaj Parikshit was going around for 2 reasons: to try and establish his superiority over all of them, and thereby collect taxes from them. And then 2, which is the most important, to try and help make them Krishna conscious. So he went everywhere to preach. He went everywhere to preach the teachings of Shri Krishna, because they are all devotees of Krishna. And it said that Maharaj Parikshit, wherever he went, they told him about how glorious he himself was, how his grandfather were glorious, and how Krishna himself was always with them. In fact, one of the places, I've forgotten the name, but it's mentioned in the names given here, where Srila Prabhupada was given a brief description, that Maharaj Parikshit was actually retold of his pastimes of how the Astra was about to burn him in his mother's womb. Uttara, and Krishna protected him. It's amazing. All these different denizens from different parts, they all knew the story. So they were telling Parikshit. And Parikshit became so overwhelmed and so joyful, hearing all these glorious pastors, grandfathers, and Sri Krishna. So we may not be as powerful, as strong as Maharaj Parikshit to travel to such distant places to preach, but we should all think and plan how in our own little way we can also reach out to people and give them Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Salika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Now, I was lost in the other words that you took us to, so I was finding it difficult to come back to this place. That was why it took me a little bit of time to respond.
Well, this topic is kind of complex for me. I don't have much clue. I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know anything about geography, and it's very detailed, especially when we read from the Mahabharata, where Srila Prabhupada quoted the discussion between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. Very, very detailed. It's amazing.
Then let us imagine if you actually geophysics or a geography expert, then I wouldn't have understood where we would have taken us to, because already I was already lost. Just by the little explanation you are giving, I got completely lost, in other words, and I was struggling to come back to this place. I don't know of others, but that is my situation here. But thank you very much for doing the justice to the
Thank you for your humility.
Actually, I was wondering when I read the verse earlier this morning, and then when I read purport like this one from Prabhupada, I had to go and listen to Prabhupada lecture on that verse. I went to go and search how Prabhupada dealt with this particular verse, because sometimes it could be so complex, and to be wondering, is Prabhupada the person of this world at all? But of course, yes, he is not. So for someone who is here, whose 2 feet are on this earth, how do you explain this kind of a verse? How do you share? Because you need to understand it before you can share it. So it's also, I was just wondering how my dear brother is going to handle this. And I think it is marvelous, wonderful. And only a professor could do this. Thank you very much for the explanation.
It's by your grace, Gurudev's grace, I speculated something.
Thank you very much. You really did well on the verse, and I really appreciate it on my side. We have Arishakra Prabhu's hand up. I have a question also, but let's hear Arishakra Prabhu. Arishakra Prabhu, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah.
Dandava Pranam. All glories to you, and all glories to you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Like you said, this topic is very confusing to me first, because the way you were describing it, I remember reading some part of this information in the fifth canto, and I'm baffled a little bit, because when you talk about the Loka mountain range, what I read, I think I understood it to be the Loka mountain range. It's like the mountain that the range that separates the material environment, the material world, from the spiritual world. And because he said once you go behind the Loka mountain range, that place is called Aloka Vasa, and in Aloka Vasa there's complete darkness that you cannot even see anything once you enter there, because the rays of the sun doesn't reach there. And if you go past the Aloka Vasa region, that is where, before you can enter into what do we call it, the Brahmajyoti. So now I just got a little bit confused, because if that is how it is, then it means the universe, all the universes should be there, that the material universes should be up from before you get to the Loka mountain range. So I want the clarification because I'm getting confused about it. Because the way you describe it, it looks as if the local mountain range is the covering of the Earth planet, the Earth, the Bhumandala.
Okay.
So
Like the
I'm a little
borderline.
bit confused. Yeah. So is it the entire universe, the material universe, that is covered, separated by the local mountain range, or just the Earth planet?
All right. I am not 100% sure about that. All I can do is to try to read from the Mahabharata what Sanjaya said about that. Let me see. I know that the borderline between the spiritual world and the material world is not Loka per se. Loka is still within this material cosmos. The actual borderline between the material and the spiritual is actually a river. And it is, according to the same SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, it says, Lord Brahma's abode is understood to be the highest in this material world. And then above Brahmaloka is Kailash. Even though we know we have Kailash somewhere on the Himalayan mountain, but the actual Kailash is above Brahmaloka. And above Kailash is Dhruvaloka. And above Dhruvaloka is a river called Viraj. So this Viraj river is the actual direct border. You know how even like in this world, in most parts of the world, borders are shared by water, a body of water. And so the Viraj river is the direct borderline between the material and the spiritual. Now this Loka, according to my insignificant understanding, is that it's a very, very high mountain, which is still within the solar system. In almost all the worlds in this material world, the chief planet is the sun. So even though there is no sunlight in the world of the Chandras, Chandraloka, but Chandra gets its light from the sunlight. Without the sunlight, Chandra would not have any light to emit. So the sun, and that is why it is said that the sun enlivens everyone and at the same time takes away everyone's life. Because when the sun comes out, it gives us energy. And that is why in some places, when people become so old, so invalid, they just put them under the sun for the sun to warm them up and they get some energy. Lots of people use the sun to create energy drinks, drink, and they revitalize themselves. But as the sun rises and sets, our days also get numbered. So the sun is like the central planet in this material world. And Loka is within this sun globe, or we say the solar system. So Loka, to my little understanding, is that if someone has better, deeper understanding in this Loka question, Please, you may do that. But my little understanding is that this loka, excuse me, is still within this solar universe, wherein it's still within this material world. But because of its height, it's so high that it blocks the sun's energies to some of the planets. That's all I can say about that.
Adikisha Babu, sorry, there's the great Chaitanya Prema Prabhu here, who is Bhaktivedanta, is Bhaktivedanta himself.
Okay.
Right? Yes, so I think he will know so much about this loka and jambu.
Our teacher, please kindly unmute. It's over to you now. Please tell your praise. Kindly unmute.
Hare Krishna, before Chaitanya Prema coming, Sadhe Prabhu, I'm not saying that the local mountain range is beyond the material world. What I'm saying is that, well, according to what I read, I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while since I read that. Is that the height of the local mountain range is blocking it blocks the sun. So anything that lies behind the local mountain range, the sun's energy doesn't reach there. So from there, it's freezing cold. It's freezing cold beyond the local mountain range, and it's dark. It's complete darkness. And you need to be like really advanced, like really mystical, to be able to even cross over that Aloka Vasa. That is the space behind the local mountain range. So that's why I'm saying that. What I'm saying is just, I mean, the confusion that I got is that even though I know the local mountain range within this material is within this material environment, but beyond it, when the darkness starts. So my confusion is the loka just around the complex earthly thing that you described? Actually, I was getting confused somewhere. Is it that, or is it the ultimate covering of the material universe? That is the difference.
I see. I get your question, but no. See, the way the planets are arranged, oftentimes we think or we assume. In fact, some time ago, I also used to assume like that they are like packed, from here, you go there, from here. But like it is said, it is flat. So, but this mountain is so high that it impedes the sun rays reaching certain parts of the Earth planet. Now, when we talk of this Earth planet, we have to try to think outside what we know about this Earth planet, because what we know about this Earth planet constitutes the 5 planets. But when the Vedic scriptures talk of the Earth planet, it talks beyond that. And so we read how Arjun went to the Netherlands and married Ulupi, who was like a snake, and it said that in this part of the world, there is no light there. And so the denizens there, they have some special gem on their forehead, on their head, that emits light. And so that is how they get their light. But it's because of this local mountain. We understand that this Netherlands is beneath this earth. And so we may assume that we are floating here and they are down here. And if the sun is here, there's the sun. It's kind of complex until we try to, even materially. I remember you were here in Gitanagri when one devotee, a scientist, came with a special scientific telescope. He brought it to the farm, and one full moonlight, we were all looking through the telescope, and you could see all the different planets. You could see Mercury, you could see Venus. Harichakra, were you there? You remember?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, until I watched through that telescope, I was thinking, how do the scientists see all the circles around the planets? You know, but when you look through that powerful telescope, you see Mercury, and you see Rohini. You know, we say whenever the moon comes out, there is this big star which always stays very close to the moon. That star is understood to be Rohini, and you see it. It's amazing, you know, so beautiful. And you can see Mercury with all the orbits. It's beautiful. But this loca is so high that, you know, when you're traveling, like maybe you're driving in a car and you're listening to your radio, and you drive through a very, very high mountainous area, the mountains block the wavelengths of the radio. And so your hearing becomes fluctuated. Sometimes you even lose it completely. Why? Because the mountain is there blocking the wavelength. So this loca is so high and is still within this Bhu Mandala. This loca is still within the Bhu Mandala, which comprises this entire Earth, which is, I should say, the greater Earth planet, that because of its height, like we read, it's 1 billion, right? 1 billion miles high. It's unimaginable. And we cannot see it with our naked eyes, but it's a mountain within our particular universe here. That is all I can say, but the fact is, whenever we have the time, we should try to read Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, 6, like Srila Prabhupada quoted. It's right there. I have it on my phone here. I don't have it on my computer. Otherwise, I would have shared it on the screen. But if you read the 6th Parva of Bhishma, Bhishma, you see this discussion between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. And I'm sure that Harichakra Prabhu, your question can be answered from this reading. We just have to do a little more reading. That is an assignment I will take upon myself. I'll read, and then when I get it, I will share it with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sriman Sahadev, for that beautiful explanation. Chaitanya Prema Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, never pronounce.
Oh, glorious. Please help us.
Is Grace River Vanachari is there?
He is not here today.
Okay. I think what I would say is that, just like Sahadev said, we should all go and make some research again so that we revisit this particular topic. Understand? It is better we do like that so that from different angles, whatever we get, we bring all together, then we can take the essence of the whole thing. This is what I will say. Otherwise, if you go to the chapter 20, the summary before the test, there is a summary of this geography there. Then there are many other places where we can find the description and bring it together in a way that it can be easily comprehended. This is my suggestion. Let's put it in the car park. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
That's a nice one.
All of us will go and study it and we'll come up with something that can be relevant to our level.
Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, you are Bhaktivedanta now. You have studied it now.
Yes, I've studied it in Bhakti Vaibhav, not in Bhaktivedanta. You have also studied it. It's in Bhakti Vaibhav.
So Kavi Kanapu, over to you. Please tell us.
Tell us something. Sahadeva Prabhu already gave some basic explanation, except you are somebody who is interested in cosmology.
Yeah.
When this chapter is narrated in chapter 5 and in canto 5, you'll just be falling asleep because it's very detailed.
Yeah,
it's detailed here. The local mountain, the how the whole configuration is like a dolphin, you know, and the description of Jambu Dweep, where the mango will fall and become mango juice.
Yeah,
lake, all those details are given there. But one thing I know, what is making noise? Something is making noise.
okay, go ahead, Kavi.
Yeah, one thing I know about this planet is that just like Prabhu Sahadeva, you have nicely explained also in the course of your explanation. Some of them are on this planet and some of them they are above this planet. You understand? Yeah, like all this sugarcane juice and honey water ocean. We have about 7 kind of oceans like that.
Yeah,
they are not on the earthly planet.
Yeah,
they are on the higher realm. But this the Jambu Dweep, the way it's being described also is part of the heavenly planet. The way when I was going through the canto 5, the way it's being described, the living entity there, because in that canto 5 it is explained that the ladies on this earth planet, when you look at the ladies on the higher planet like this Jambu Dweep, they look at the ladies on this planet like a sheet.
yeah.
And their body is natural. Their body have natural fragrance because of this juice they are drinking. So if you look around this planet, you know that those people are not on this planet; they are higher planet.
Yeah.
So this is my own going through it. This is what me I was the way I was meditating on it. You know, everybody with different, but there are devotees in this ISKCON who are expert in this topic.
No, you're right. It's heavenly, but you know, just the same thing Shukadeva Goswami explains in the same Bhagavatam, I think same canto 5, where Shukadeva Goswami describes the hellish planets. And Shukadeva groups the hellish planets to be 28. Now, that does not mean that there are 28 hellish planets, but it's all based on how Shukadeva Goswami has grouped them. You know, so this Jambu Dweep, like you were saying, Kavi Kanapu Prabhu, you were saying, it's heavenly, whereby modern material scientists will not consider those parts as part of this earth. But in the Vedic sense, when they talk of earth, all those are part of earth. It's very interesting. Canto 5, I saw something here. Canto 5, chapter 20, verse 37. Says, by the supreme will of Krishna, the mountain known as Lokaloka has been installed as the outer border of the 3 worlds, Burloka, Bhuvarloka, and Swaraloka, to control the rays of the sun throughout the universe. all the luminaries from the sun up to Dhruvaloka distribute their rays throughout the three worlds, but only within the boundary formed by this mountain. Because it is extremely high, extending even higher than a Dhruvaloka, it blocks the rays of the luminaries, which therefore can never extend beyond it. Which is very interesting because it extends even far beyond Dhruvaloka. So we can all see why Harichakra Prabhu's question makes a lot of sense, because like I was saying, Dhruvaloka is like the end point of the material cosmos, you know. And it's amazing. We can sit here and at night see Dhruvaloka from here. We can see Dhruvaloka. Dhruvaloka basically is the North Pole star. And you can see the North Pole star here with our physical eyes. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhu, according to, if we understand that story of Dhruva Maharaj,
yeah,
we understand that Dhruvaloka is not part of earth. It's a eternal abode of love. Please speak.
It's a subterranean. It's one of the subterranean heavenly planets.
Yes,
Yes.
Dhruvaloka is part of heavenly planet. Is a planet given to him because he wanted a place that is higher than Lord Brahma's abode. So Dhruvaloka is considered to be a place where even when everywhere is annihilated, it still remains.
It doesn't, yes.
So
it is not material world. It's not part of the material world.
Yes, but you just read something now. You say you talk about the three words.
Yeah.
When we talk about these three words, I was always analyzing it. And when they mention these three words, they mention Bull, Buva, and Swa. So what is Bu? Bu is this earth.
Yeah. Bu is the Bu Mandala.
Yes, Bu Mandala. When they say Swa, Buva, what is Buva? Where is Buva? Buva is the space after the sky between the earth and heaven. You know, when the plane is flying, they go above this, a little bit above this cloud. Yeah. But there's a place that is higher than the cloud, the sky. That realm is the middle between the earth and the heavenly planets. And that place is a place that is the place when you start floating. Yeah. And that place is the place where the ghostly beings they reside. Buva. Buva is the planet of ghosts. And above it, even because in that canto 5 also is being described how the ghostly beings are higher than human body, and their abode is higher than human body. That is, they reside in that Buva. And above that Buva is Swagaloka. That is why we begin to see the moon and the sun, because this moon and the sun and all these other planets, the pole star we are seeing, they are in a Swagaloka. So when you read this thing, they say that a Loka is the boundary above the three worlds. You show that it's not in the material world. So this thing is a scientific and a very
it is. Saki Devi. Yeah.
That's why I'm giving the assignment that let us study chapter 20. The chapter 20, let all of us go and study it.
Yeah, chapter 20.
Then we bring all our energies together. The structure of the universe is described there. Yeah. So that we avoid speculations. We come with the facts. We should filter the facts and bring them together and share it with each other. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Saki Devi here is saying that it's a Vaikuntha planet. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she was talking when we were talking about Bhuvaloka. I think that's what she was trying to say. Okay. I think that's that was when she posted when Kavi was talking about Bhuvaloka. That's when she sent that message. I don't know if that is what she meant, but that was the point.
Talking about
Dhruvaloka.
Okay, Dhruva Loka, that's what she's referring to. Okay, now that's understood. Actually,
yeah, Dhruva Loka is the abode of Shridakashai Vishnu in the earthly planet. So it's a spiritual world. It's a Vakunta Loka on the earth. That place never gets destroyed even when the O3 world is destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, this kind of topics comes up once in a while when we go through this SRIMAD, the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, and it's interesting. It probes our heart to looking deeper into our scriptures. Actually, each and every time I look at the Vedic cosmology, it's somehow kind of, and I can understand because I remember when I joined the movement, when I first read the Bhagavad Gita, I read the Bhagavad Gita 2-3 times before I could understand chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, because chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita is dealing directly with the three modes. And from there to 13 and 14, actually, they are very complex chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. When Krishna is speaking in chapter 13, chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, there's some kind of a deep subject matter. And I couldn't understand why I could not understand most of the things that I was reading there. But in recent times, when I was studying the Vedic ISKCON hermeneutics, study of the scriptures, then I kind of tried to understand why it was happening that way. Because as we get purified in the heart, our adhika, our spiritual qualification improves, and our understanding expands. And most of these things becomes easy because when you hear Prabhupada, when he's speaking, like I said earlier on, when you hear Prabhupada speaking some of these things, when you read that Prabhupada's purport, the way Prabhupada is just like somebody is looking at a television and is describing something. So most of these topics actually, they relate to the level of our adhika, or what you call spiritual development, because even when you read them, sometimes it becomes difficult. We can read them and read them over and over again, but understanding of what we read sometimes becomes difficult to comprehend. So it relates directly some of this subject matter with our level of spiritual advancement, and that is, I think that is what I personally have understood when I started studying the ISKCON hermeneutics, because of the study of the scriptures.
Prabhu, can I comment something?
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, like just what to say about reading and understanding and our expansion of understanding in reading of the scripture. I realize that there's some more part of the scripture that if it's not our feet, we cannot comprehend it, except you become spiritual and Krishna reveal it to you. Because
exactly.
no. I'm not talking in that direction in a way that you will not be able to explain it to others, because it's not your field. You cannot explain it. But Krishna will reveal it to you in a way that you understand where they belong in the universe. For example, when Prabhupada was describing is in Canto 3, he was talking about the time, atomic time. Mm-hmm. Prabhupada gave very little purport about it, and he said, for you to be able to understand this, you need to study physics. People did not get so much details about the calculating of time from atom. Similarly, also with cosmology, also Prabhupada did not give so much attention to that, because he knows it's not his field, and that is why when he gave the assignment to the disciple to build a Vedic planetarium, he told them to go and meet experts. And since then till today, the disciples were consulting those experts. So what I'm trying to say in essence is also, if it's not your field, it's not your field. Just like if being a doctor or surgeon is not your field, no matter how spiritual you are, you may get the revelation about those things happen, but you will not be able to. That is just my own.
Thank you very much, Kavi Kanapu Prabhu. What you're saying is also right. But when you look at it also from the holistic perspective, that's why I'm quoting that. Also, I also agree with what you are saying, that one has to be expert in a particular field to be able to understand and explain it. But also, when you look at it from the holistic perspectives, when you go deeper, you realize, And that like I was, it used to baffle me. Even later on, when I start understanding that chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and some of the parts of the Bhagavatam, I start wondering, why is it that this thing never makes meaning to me before? But when we start studying hermeneutics, then I started realizing that, because when we talk about scientists also, scientists are who? They are people who in their previous life have developed some kind of punya. They have had some accumulation of knowledge of a particular category. And that is what makes them to be who they are in this present. One is a doctor, is a scientist, is a carpenter, whatever it is in this present life. It's also as an accumulation of what is happened in the previous life. And that is what is the summary that one of the senior devotee in our movement, when he was explaining that aspect of understanding certain aspect of the scriptures, he was giving this summary explanation. Actually, he went into deep explanation, giving several quotations to back up this point. But the summary is that he's saying that sometimes some people, because of their previous karma or previous piety, when they come into this body, just like we see that somebody will just take devotional service and he will start chanting 16 rounds, he start doing everything. It's not just by magic. It's not like it is field. It's his field. It's based on the previous punya that he has accumulated. So that is the angle I'm coming from. But what you said is right. That one has to develop, one has to be expert in that field. But that expertness in that particular field also has to do with the kind of punya that one has accumulated in the previous life. Thank you very much for the contributions. I think at this point it's 1 hour 30 minutes, and at this point there are no hands up, and I want to express deep appreciation for each and every one of us who has contributed to this topic. It makes it lively, and we appreciate each and everybody's contribution, especially our speaker today. And I'm not surprised that only the professor can do this, because like I said earlier on, it takes a professor to be able to pieces such a complex subject matter into pieces. Thank you very much, Sriman Sahadev.
No, listen, I just read something little from one amazing devotee, and after this I'm going to share the book. It's a small article.
Okay.
About this Vedic cosmology. It's very beautiful.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
It will give a clearer and better explanation to these difficult subject matters. I think it's about how many pages? Let me see how many pages. It's about 62 pages. His name is Maheshwara Prabhu.
Okay, please share it on the, either you share it on the, if it's on the group chat or in the larger group, whichever one is convenient for you to do. You can share with us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, okay, let me see if I can share it right away. Let me see.
So on this note, if there are any last comments, Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu, we've not had your voice today. We always like to hear you before we could.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, please kindly omit if it is convenient for you to speak at wherever you are now. Mother Saki Devi, please kindly go ahead and omit.
Hey, Saki, Hare Krishna. Good to see you here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. I'll go to Guru and Guranga. I found the conversation very interesting. I just wanted to mention something about the ghostly beings.
Please do.
That just because somebody is in a not a permanent body or a spiritual body, they, like, if you have read the pastimes of when Lord Krishna fought Lord Shiva because of Banasura's daughter Usha and Krishna's grandson Aniruddha, when there was a great battle, and Lord Shiva called all of his bhutas to come to the fight. Like, just because they are in those bodies, the embodied body, doesn't mean they're not spiritually powerful. You know, so like the Prabhu was making a point about them being higher than the earthly planet. Like, that's why you have Brahmin Rakshasas. Like, you have powerful beings that just because they're not on the earthly planet is so small compared to the entire universe. And these beings, even though they are disembodied, doesn't mean they're not powerful. That was the only point that I wanted to make, because when you read the different battles, when those Bhutas come onto the battlefield, they're always fighting. They're always ready to fight with Lord Shiva, you know. And when you hear about their powers, that like the Brahmin Rakshasas read the Vedas too. Like Hiranyakasipu and Ravana, even though they were pure devotees, but they took on these different pastimes to prove that this is why you need to educate yourself, because this person may be using it for not so good purposes, and then you have the people who use it for good purposes, but the person who's using it for not so good purposes may outsmart you because they know more than you. And that's why you should always make yourself aware and want to know more about the Vedas, because even demons read the Vedas too.
Yes, you're right about that.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Mother Saki Devi.
Okay.
If it is convenient, can you put on your video for a moment so that we can see you, if it is possible?
I wanted her to speak when we had Gurudev's, I think that's about 4 weeks or so ago in Columbus, when we had Gurudev's ceremonial celebration. She was there, but she hid herself. She didn't speak. Her mom spoke.
Okay.
She's the daughter of.
Say, don't worry yourself.
No. She might show up her face today, but she is the daughter of Mother Kamagiri, who is our auntie.
Yeah.
No, she's our auntie.
She's our auntie.
And Saki is a direct disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
We are very happy to have you on our platform today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming and contributing.
Yeah, I think this is your first time, right, Saki? Is this your first time?
Well, I pop in and out when the Chuta Gopi's on because she invites me.
Okay.
But I was speaking to Govinda Prabhu like last week, and he's like, you need to join the Hare Krishna Africa Zoom conference calls. I said, well, I can join them every day because at work, you know, I'm just in my office doing nothing.
Yeah.
So
but I think it's very important to have these conversations, and it's very empowering to be able to have dialogue about these topics, because sometimes you need a better understanding and sometimes you can't have that understanding for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhus.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mutaji. So officially we'll have to come to an end of this class for now, and you all stay back. But for now, let's appreciate the speaker of our speaker today is Grace Sahadev Prabhu, by loudly chanting Hare Krishna in our tradition. And
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
His Grace Sriman Sahadev Prabhu ki jai.